Welcome to the School Garden Podcast with Mary Jo and Anne. No matter where you are in your school garden journey, whether you are an experienced garden teacher, a novice parent helper, or a struggling home educator, we are here to help you and your kiddos in your garden space. Come and dig in with us because school gardens matter.
So welcome to the School Garden Podcast, a podcast for school garden educators by school garden educators. And if you're listening to this podcast right now, in the summer, we know you're a committed school garden educator and probably have a garden that you're caring for right now. So we wanted to create a short episode into how to keep your garden thriving in the summer. And this is our list of tasks and things we do in the summer. We just wanted to share them with you.
Yeah, exactly. So you're probably noticing the things that we're going to talk about. You've probably been popping into schools. Maybe you've got a school garden program that runs through, or you're year-round school. We don't know what your circumstances are, but some things to keep in mind when you are in the garden this summer.
Great. So let's get started. First one for me, water deeply, not often. So we've mentioned in our watering episode that deep and infrequently is much better for the plants than lots of daily watering for lots of reasons. So check out that podcast if you want to do a deep dive into that idea. But for me, it just makes sense. If I water deeply, I only have to do it a couple times a week and it saves me a trip to the school. So that's one of the ways I make my summer more accessible and fun and possible by that deep and infrequent watering. Helps the plants and helps me.
Yes, that's right. And along the lines of watering as well, so do check on irrigation. If you have irrigation systems, so things like drip irrigation, you've got overhead sprinklers, or you've got other automated systems, check on for correct timings, for problems, and for the functionality, because there is nothing more disappointing than thinking you've got the watering covered and everything's happening, you're away, you're feeling really quite thrilled with yourself that it's been taken care of when you're in the nice cool air conditioning, to find out that things have been going wrong.
That's so disappointing.
So we've been really lucky here where we are. We have a great deal of rain, haven't we?
Yes.
So if you have been getting a good amount of rain, you have had this watering assistance, maybe other people are doing it for you as well, you are going to have weeds. You are going to have weeds galore. And so your plants will be growing well, but also the weeds around them too. So you really want to try to keep on top of those. Weed for as long as you can stand it, or maybe just a one-off volunteer event, or one-off kind of inviting people to come along and just keep on top of those weeds. Think about adding layers of mulch, adding a layer of compost. That's going to help keep the moisture in, but it's also going to help with the weeds too, keeping those down. And your autumn future self will thank you for doing that.
I love that. If you have a lot of weeds in a bed that you're not using, here's another tip. You might want to solarize the bed. And I learned this a couple years ago and I find it really helpful. So solarizing is a process of taking clear plastic. In the past, a lot of people used black plastic, but we're finding that the clear plastic works better. And placing it over the bed tightly. Right before you do that, water the bed really, really, really well.
You're going right underneath it.
Exactly. Get that plastic on the soil itself and then weight it down with rocks or bags of compost. And then it will cook the weeds and the weed seeds. Now, this process can take 6 to 8 weeks. So it's something you can do now in June. That's when we're recording this podcast, and have it work all summer long for you. It will kill a lot of the microbial life. Earthworms will have to dig deeper to be safe, but it will give you a clean, clear bed if you have a bed that's out of control with weeds. So I solarize a lot of spots around my garden where I don't want grass to grow, or if I have beds that are just too weedy, I solarize those beds.
What a super cheap way to put this beating sun to good use in Texas. I feel a certain sense of victory when I've used the sun to do something like that.
Right, yes.
As we like to pouring with sweat for a good number of months here, I think, yay, victory. So while we are talking about weeds and we are talking about those kind of moisture levels and watering as well, humidity can cause a certain amount of problems in your garden. I've noticed it in my own backyard as I've been working this weekend on it. Some of the leaves are starting to look a bit kind of like yellow, not that good as well. And that's really down to air ventilation. Mm-hmm. So when you are in your garden and possibly are weeding out, then get rid of any dead, decaying leaves, any kind of branches that have broken off, that kind of thing. Take those out. And then think about air circulation around your plants, particularly things like tomatoes, peppers. You might want to take out lower down some of those branches or some of the suckers or some shoots that are going off to the side. Take those out, prune those out, and just think about getting that air moving around those plants, and that will help get away from problems. It really reinvigorates your plant, and it will help with productivity as well. So yes, I think about air ventilation and circulation, and that really will kind of help you avoid a lot of issues.
One of my favorite tasks in the garden in the summer is harvesting. Yes. So if you've been keeping on top of your garden, been running a garden program, or have school year round, then we really do hope that you have some bumper harvests like cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, whatever you've grown. And I hope you're harvesting them all or encouraging families to do so.
Yeah.
And keeping on top of harvesting keeps your garden healthy, and it promotes more vigorous growth and bigger harvest, as Mary Jo was mentioning. This helps the plant be more vigorous, and it will grow, and you'll have more of a harvest later on.
It's interesting, isn't it? But sometimes I find with school gardens during the summer is that harvesting is almost forgotten about. You're too kind of caught up in keeping everything going and keeping the weeds and the watering and stuff like that. And sometimes people do forget about the produce at the end of it, and there's quite a lot of gardens I see where the produce is just left on the plant. So just be prepared, but just get in there and get that bounty, or if you need to, just invite the people who live locally to go and pick it. And picking it on a regular basis really will help the health of that plant. So harvest, and think about harvesting and sharing it out.
My next tip is one of my favorites, because ultimately I'm pretty lazy. It is okay to fallow or put your beds to rest in the summer. So if you have crops that finish or conk out, you can save yourself a lot of time and effort in the fall if you were to dig up all those weeds, add compost, water everything really deeply, and then cover the beds with cardboard. Yeah. And then weight that cardboard down. It suppresses weeds, and then you'll have a clear bed all ready to go when school starts.
Yeah, exactly. Putting the beds to bed, a whole kind of cardboard sheet mulching, that kind of thing, absolutely fantastic. But if you can't bring yourself to do that, if you actually need to see something growing as well, or you want to protect the integrity and hold that soil, then think about cover crops. And we've talked about cover crops before, and they're grown for many different reasons. They hold, they condition, and they maintain the integrity of the soil, but they're not necessarily grown for food production. They really are for the benefit of the soil. So things like southern peas, soybeans, buckwheat do well for us here, where we are in zone 8B here in North Texas as well. So check out your area and zone for examples of what you can do in terms of a cover crop.
And typically you take these cover crops and cut them to the ground right at flowering.
That's right.
So that all the nutrition from that plant goes into the soil, and you can cut them up, chop them, drop them on the soil, and incorporate them in.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you're going to use those nitrogen fixing properties that these plants do, and then you're going to kind of like chop them, like you chop and drop, fold them into the soil, and it really is all about the integrity of the soil. So cover crops, something to maybe think about this summer, or just make friends with cover crops, because they are a great technique to have various points of your garden. So don't forget them also as an option for the summer. So maybe you've been off your garden for a couple of weeks or a month or so like that, and you're missing it. And that's it. And you've maybe popped into school and you're looking in and you're all wistful and things like that. Because guess what? There is still things that you can sow and you can plant that you've got time for. So check your planting calendars for where you are. There will still be something that you can get in the ground and grow. So for us here in zone 8B in June and July, we can still plant sweet potato slips, southern peas, we can put in okras, we can put corns, squash and melons, and we can still do those from seed. So think about if you're still desperate, the gardener in you is kind of like wanting to kind of, get back into the garden, then think about those. What I would definitely recommend is sowing some zinnia seeds or some other flowers that does well in the summer in your area. There is absolutely nothing nicer, is there, Anne, when you come back into school and the garden has got some colour in it, and colour and flowers in your garden space. Also, a great activity for students is to cut flowers, creating arrangements for classrooms. And it's also a great way to get the garden back into the minds of people in your school, possibly things like principals, decision makers. As soon as the school year gets started, it's kind of a great PR exercise, isn't it, for the garden as you start the school year. Do great here, really great.
Something that always comes up in the summer, no matter what type of gardener you are pests.
Yeah.
What do you do about those weird bugs that you see in the garden? You notice holes in your leaves, or sometimes the harvest is missing because you have some wonderful furry creatures taking things away.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I know.
I have adopted a policy of just letting it be. Within my district, there aren't a lot of products I can put on.
Yeah.
And I'm not there enough to watch and manage it. So I just consider them as part of the ecosystem. And it's a natural process. And so I don't even deal with what to do with all these bugs in the garden. I just let it go. And that seems to be what's worked well for me. And if my garden's healthy, then I tend to not have as many bugs. And I've had great luck with that. But I let them be.
Yeah, exactly. We're held to a lot of rules, aren't we? And if you are gardening in a school or on anybody else's land, you are held to some rules about it. So the easiest thing for us to do is to abide by all those rules, is to not put anything down or do anything like that. And prevention is much better than the cure. So keeping your soil really good, ventilating those plants, pruning them out, and then just letting a certain portion of them go to nature if need be. Gosh, I was at school yesterday and we were emptying the potatoes, and there were just these big bite marks all around the bags. And apparently, I didn't realize this, they told me they have a possum, and the kids call the possum Fran.
Oh.
Possum Fran. Well, Fran is well fed.
There you go.
Fran is not worrying about where her next meals come from, let me tell you. But Fran ate every one of those potatoes. There were 1, 2, 3, 5 or 6 bags, and they got 3 potatoes out of the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. But you know something? I thought that the kids would be super disappointed, or there would be a great deal of kind of, lamenting. But they were fine. They just took it in their stride, and they were like going, well, we don't want that to happen again. What can we do?
Wonderful problem solving.
Exactly. Not use the fabric bags again, and then in ground or into kind of more of a substantial raised bed planter. Great. So there we go. So it's going to happen.
Right.
Just going to do what nature does. But yeah, good. So I don't want to be one of those teachers in the middle of the kind of summer who's now instantly thinking about the fall, Anne. But gardening, we're always a season ahead. We're always thinking that season ahead. So you can start to think about starting seeds indoors now for planting out in the fall, if you are so inclined. If you're missing your gardening, but you're not missing the heat, then do it in the air conditioning in your house and start a few of those seeds. You can also start to take cuttings from existing plants that are in your garden. This is quite typical with tomatoes, isn't it?
Yes.
And you can actually root those in water, and you can plant them out again for a fall harvest. And if you do want to do that, so you're going to choose a side shoot from the plant. We're going to take around 6 and 8 inches in length, something that doesn't have fruit, something that doesn't have flowers on it, and you're just going to place it into a glass of water, and that bottom couple of inches into the water, and you're going to let it root. Keep it out of the way of direct sunlight and just let those roots come. Change the water regularly, every couple of days if you need to, and then you will start to see and get some of roots growing. And wait until you've got a good bunch of healthy roots, and then you can plant them out into the garden again. I think this is a particularly good exercise if you do have a tomato plant that you really are enjoying.
Yes, I do.
And it's just so good. Oh my gosh, these are so great. Well, let's keep that going. Let's make sure that you get that plant right the way through to the fall and enjoy those plants and those tasting tomatoes or whatever. Also, if you want to save money, exactly, by not replacing the tomatoes, then take a cutting. That really works well if you manage to get your hands on some good heirloom varieties. So from seeds indoor for the fall, taking some cuttings, start to think about that fall planting.
But I like to do it. I find it really fun to think about what is my fall garden going to look like, and what do I do now to get ready for that?
Yeah, as we start to kind of fantasize and dream of kind of cooler days.
Yes. Yes.
That's all I think about when I think about planting in the fall. I think, ooh, chilly.
Wouldn't that be nice? 4 months. Give us 4 months and we'll be there. Another trick I do in the garden in the summer is I make some shade.
Yeah.
There comes a time in the summer, mid-July through August, when it is just too hot for my plants to thrive, for some plants. So when it gets into the hundreds and I have plants I want to keep alive, I consider ways to shade them.
Yeah.
Particularly strawberries.
Yes.
I shade my strawberries from mid-July to September.
Yeah.
And I use shade cloth. You can buy it commercially, but I've also used old sheets.
Frost cloth, that works too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anything that kind of allows breathability. So you get your air through, otherwise you will end up solarizing.
Right, you know, which we don't want to do.
Your strawberries. Not on our watch.
So I do my strawberries and I do my tomatoes. Mm-hmm. And any plant that looks like it's struggling, I will put up a trellis on either side, put my cloth or my sheets that I get from the garage sales. Those are awesome. Mm-hmm. And put it over there, let the air flow through. Mm-hmm. And I find that really helps extend my season and keep the things I want alive. I
just keep ever go at them as well. So I was at a garden last week, which is totally exposed and in full direct sun, and just it's very open. So actually putting up a shade cloth or putting up trellises, it's just going to blow down or attract some interest, and that's what you don't want to do either. So we decided that there was some sunflowers that are up. That is actually starting to give some really good respite.
Great idea.
And some shade as well. So consider maybe putting in some seeds for some sunflowers as well, strategically around, that's going to give that shade, or other kind of tall growing plants which can give that natural respite, that natural break to the sun. So we are hoping that the sunflowers that we've got around our strawberries are going to give it enough kind of shade and cover just to get them through to the fall.
Great. And so a lot of the sunflowers you'd want on the west side of the garden, because that's where the sun would be the hottest. Yeah. So that might be neat.
Yeah. And no doubt, even if you think it's a weed, if you do have something that's tall, like a grass that's come up or something like that, consider leaving it, because it really will be helpful in terms of giving some respite to these plants and helping them get through to the fall, where hopefully they'll give you another flush of something then. So there will get to a point in this when it just gets very hot and things will slow down. Things like okras are going to carry on pumping out and that kind of thing. But other plants, such as your tomatoes, for example, it is going to slow down. You know, the strawberries are not going to produce. There's other things that the heat is going to take a toll on their production. Okay. But you can just keep them alive, keep them watered. Don't think of them or consider them a lost cause and pull them out or anything like that. Because if you do have that watering assistance and you do have the help, and if you can keep them alive, and they will come back in the fall. Once we do get a dip in temperatures, particularly at temperatures at night, then they will bounce back. And I'm really thinking about tomatoes in this occasion. And if you do keep them watered and just keep the leaves green, then they are going to go and give you tomatoes right the way through till we get a frost, and that can even be up till Thanksgiving. And when I mean that they will stop producing, so I've explained to a couple of teachers this week about tomatoes and why they stop producing fruit. They were like, oh my gosh, we were getting so many, we were getting bowls full, and now it's all kind of slowing down. And that's because of the pollen. In the night temperature. So the flower of a tomato has the male and female parts in one place, okay, and it self-pollinates. And what happens is at nighttime, when the temperature doesn't dip below 75 Fahrenheit, is that pollen just gets sticky and it won't go from one part to the other, and it won't fertilize. if you like. You are not going to get nearly as many tomatoes in that instance. I've had people that have been taking paintbrushes out and doing all the rest of it, but don't worry about it. That is its natural way.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault at all. It's the fault of 75-degree Fahrenheit evenings and nights kind of thing. It's as well. So yeah, so that and that's going to happen prolifically right the way through the United States as well. So, and if you love those tomatoes, once that night temperature does drop again, you will get a reproduction of tomatoes. And I think if you've done that, you get many more, a bigger production in the fall than you did in the spring and the summer.
I've had that experience sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Excited about this. It's time for the pickling update.
That's right. Pickling galore and not pickleball. Remember how I feel about that. But I have been pickling. And Anne, you've had a few.
They are really good. You should put the recipe on the show notes.
Let me do that. Exactly.
Yeah,
because I did dill pickles.
Those were tasty.
Yes. And then I did that bread and butter pickle thing that my father Ian was talking about as well. So I delivered a batch today to Anne. She tasted them and she said they were good.
And I tasted them at 10 a.m. in the morning without having had breakfast. So that tells you how much I was looking forward to them.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something nice. I've been putting them on cheese sandwiches. Cheese sandwich and then loads of like these bread and butter pickles. And I'm like, yum, yum, yum. And what I realized is that they're called bread and butter pickles because during the Depression, they were used as a sandwich filling. Substantial things were available, and that would be, your main meal would be in the middle of some bread. But these bread and butter pickles. But yeah, I am really enjoying getting into this pickling business.
I love it.
I took a whole bunch of jalapenos off a learning garden yesterday, and I'm going to pickle jalapenos next. So nice. Pickling is happening, people.
Good.
Having the best time.
Good. Thanks for the pickle update.
You're welcome. And my children are also getting to the point now where they're going, you need to get this stuff away. Because they're opening up the fridge and looking for, like more normal things. But teenagers look for them and they're going, yeah. Hey, head into Anne's. You should take some pickles.
Nice.
Whenever I leave the house, they're going, you should take some pickles. You should take some pickles. But isn't it wonderful when we get to eat what we're growing?
Right. Because you use the dill from the garden in your dill pickles.
Garlic came from the garden.
Yes.
And the pickles have come from the garden, and onions as well in the bread and butter pickles have come from the garden. But I don't know about you, but it's so nice when you put these things from the garden into your dinners as well. We're used to doing it in the school so the kids get to taste it. But when we start to incorporate it and, it's from the garden. Whenever my kids take a forkful or something, I'm like, it's from the garden. It's from the garden. Yeah, they're over it.
I did it this week with bruschetta. We used tomatoes from the garden, garlic, and basil.
Oh.
And it was wonderful. But I do the same thing with Carlos going, this is from the garden.
I know. How many times
I grew that? Notable.
Anybody who grows, I bet you're all doing that. We would love to know how many times you reference your homegrown produce in your dinner.
Let us know on our Instagram or Facebook page, or email us at podcast@madegreen.com.
Yeah, please don't let us be the only ones who do this. We know you're doing it too.
So we hope these tips, which help us every summer, help you as you're working in your garden. Or maybe you're not.
And that's absolutely fine. If you are taking that well-deserved resting and just getting on with your normal life and leaving the school garden until you get back for the start of the new school year, that's absolutely fine. Wherever you find yourself, be it in a garden, be it in a swimming pool, be it in a hotel, be it wherever, absolutely wonderful. We wish you a fantastic rest over this summer.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit the follow button on your podcast platform of choice. And share us with a friend, please. We'd love for you to rate us and leave a comment as well. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Made Green, or visit us at our website, www.madegreen.com. Details of today's shows and other resources are in our show notes. Any proceeds from affiliate links shared help fund our school garden programs. We look forward to seeing you next time on the School Garden Podcast.